Hello people of YouTube, it's Deepak here, and welcome to DCS World 2.8.0 and RASBAM Simulations AV8B Harrier Module. Welcome to Addendum 2, Waypoint Offsets and ATHS Points. In the most recent patch, 2.8.0, there have been some changes to the way that these two features work. In the past, you used waypoint properties in order to create waypoint offsets. Now the system is actually using navigational target points, and the way that we create labels on the F10 map for them to be loaded via the data link, the ATHS, has also changed. So I'm going to demonstrate both of these new systems to you today, and I'll also allude to some of the changes that have been made to the EHSD and the quick access menu. However, at the time of filming, some of this is a bit bugged. But I'll go over how it works as of right now, and things that shouldn't be happening but are. So the very first one that we're going to do are the offset points. In the Harrier, every single waypoint can have an offset, but it can only have a single offset, unlike the F-16, which has two. You can also have offsets from TACAN stations, but those can only be programmed in the aircraft in the air. So let's take a little look at our flight plan here. We've got this aircraft here, Mentor 1-1. I'm in the mission editor, and I can step through our flight plan here. Let's zoom out a little bit. There are quite a lot of other aircraft, so it might be a little bit cluttered. But we have Mentor 1-1. Actually, wrong mouse button. And Mentor 1-1 has a single waypoint all the way over here. So we can flip through these. I'm actually going to add some additional waypoints just so that we have an easier to follow flight plan. There we go, 1, 2, and 3. And what we can do is we can associate an offset with any of these waypoints by creating a navigation target point. So this square in this tab here, if I click this, I can have target points, and I can click anywhere on the map to add these. So this is my target point number 1. I'm going to make another target point here, number 2, and another target point here, number 3. So let's go to number 1. The way we associate these with the waypoints is using the comments box. And in the comments box, there is a standardized format for the comment. You need to type # OS in uppercase, and then the number of the waypoint it should be associated with. And like I said, each waypoint can only have one of these. If you do create multiple target points with multiple references back to the same waypoint, what the system will do is it will only store the last one that you create. So we're going to do the same here. #OS2. This one will be #OS3. So these target points are associated with waypoint 1, this one's associated with waypoint 2, this one is associated with waypoint 3. Let's go ahead and load into the aircraft, and then I'll show you what this looks like in the air. Okay, you join me in the cockpit. We've loaded up the mission, and we now have all of these waypoint offsets loaded up in the aircraft. So let's go and just focus down on the EHSD here. We can see that waypoint 0 has no offset. That's normal. That's our origin point. Waypoint 1, though, has an offset point, and it's exactly where I placed it. Just a quick reminder, the circle point is the waypoint itself. The dashed circle point is the offset. If we jump to waypoint 2, same again. We've got the waypoint and its offset. And waypoint 3, the waypoint and its offset, exactly as we programmed them. And as before, we can select the waypoint offset here, and then all of our steering cues are to the waypoint offset and not the waypoint. And then we can press waypoint to flip back to the waypoint itself. If we did want to change these waypoint offsets, we can still do that in the air. We just need to make sure we've got the waypoint we want selected, go to the data page, cycle from waypoint to waypoint offset, and we could then enter a new range and bearing for the offset. And you can see here the waypoint and its offset are confirmed on the EHSD. So we still have that capability, but otherwise the points will be where they were positioned in the editor. Next thing that I'll cover is the creation of target points using the F10 menu. Let's go ahead and press F10 and zoom out here a little bit. The labeling of the points has changed. Also, it's no longer necessary to create an empty target point before creating your actual target points. And the other thing to note is that you now can no longer import target points placed by other people in multiplayer. Only your own target points will be processed. So we click the circle up here on the top bar, and then click where we want this point to be. And we need to make sure that the name of the point follows a particular naming scheme, similar to the waypoint offsets. It's hash, uppercase TP, and then a number. So this is going to be our target point number 1. Going to make another one over here. Again, hash TP2. And then let's have one over here as well. Hash TP3. Let's return to the cockpit now by pressing F1. And if we open up our kneeboard and shuffle across here, you'll see that we have the targets list. Now, unfortunately, this seems to be bugged right now. No matter what we do, this kneeboard doesn't get updated, but the target points are downloaded. So we can demonstrate this actually. If I shift over to the other MPCD, go Menu and CAS, and then press Recall, you'll see that currently my recall list is empty. But if, as directed by the kneeboard, I do right shift, right alt, and the number 8, let's do that now. There they are. They're all immediately populated, so that's simulating those being transmitted to me. Now, these are not target points as yet. They're simply CAS mission entries. I need to follow the usual procedure, which is I've got one selected. I've got number 1 selected. So I'll need to zoom out a little bit for this. Press CAS to go into that entry. Click Use. It's going to default to 0. I'm going to enter number 1 to put this into target point number 1 and press Enter. Oh, actually, and that updates the target list. Right, this is working a little bit differently from what I remember. That's good. So this does actually get updated. The data page will come up confirming the location. Actually, if I move my screen over here and focus down, you can see this is exactly where we had that target point placed. You can see our own ship indicator here. We're flying along here. And if I exit the data page, that is now confirmed and loaded into the system. And we can repeat that with the other points. So let's go back to recall, select point number 2, go back to CAS, press Use. This time we're going to enter number 2, press Enter, it appears in my kneeboard, and I can exit the data page to confirm that position. Back to recall, point number 3, back to CAS, Use, 3, Enter. It's on my kneeboard. Interesting that the text "no targets loaded" is just typed over the top. Come out of data page, and that is now in position. Excellent. So we now have waypoints, waypoint offsets, and target points loaded into our system. I'm now going to drop a mark point so that we have mark points as well. I'm going to drop an additional mark point so we have 2. And I'll use this opportunity to very quickly go over the changes to the EHSD and waypoint increment. Now, at the present time, these are somewhat bugged, so they are very likely to change in subsequent patches. So take note, this is how it works as of 2.8.0. It's very, very likely to change. So, back in the bad old days, I could press waypoint increment, and I could cycle through all point types. Now, you only cycle through your current type, which right now is waypoints. And this is whether you press waypoint increment on the stick, or if you use the up and down arrows on the EHSD. To immediately access a different point type, we need to access the quick access menu. We can do that by pressing and holding waypoint increment and releasing, and you'll see that on the ODU, we now have the options for waypoints, mark points, target points, non-sequential routing, and time on target. We're going to switch to mark points. By default, it's going to show the last mark point, which in this case is 1. If I press enter, it will immediately select mark point 1, and now I'm in mark point mode. And what should happen, but it's not always working, is that pressing waypoint increment should allow me to increment through my mark points. That's actually working right now. Sometimes what happens is that it wraps around into waypoints and then gets stuck in waypoints again. Now, one thing you'll notice, and this is a bug, is that my arrows have disappeared. I need to enter a different ODU page, so for example I could go TACAN and then away from TACAN again, and you see I've now got my arrows back. You should get your arrows back immediately, is my understanding. Let's try this again with target points. This is almost certainly not going to work. Let's do a long press, go to target points. Let's go straight to target point number 3 and press enter. There we go, we've got target point 3. Let's get our arrows back, and I suspect that when we go off the top of target points, it's now actually going to jump into waypoints. Yes, it did exactly that. That's a bug, it shouldn't do that. And if I press waypoint increment again, it's now stuck. So now we can't get anything other than waypoint 1. If I do a long press of waypoint increment, go back to waypoints, let's go straight to waypoint 0, enter, and then get my arrows back. Now if I waypoint increment, I think it will work normally again. Yeah. So what I'm tending to find is that when I cycle off the top of the target points, it's dropping me into one waypoint and then not allowing me to cycle beyond that. It's basically kind of broken in that regard. One last thing to note is that waypoint increment acts differently if you have a waypoint designate point or not. So as an example, let's do long press of waypoint increment. Let's take mark point number 1, enter. I now have mark point number 1. Let's designate mark point number 1. So that's now my target point, or my current target point. If I do a long press of waypoint increment to get to the quick access menu while I have a designated steer point, what it will immediately do is it'll cycle me to T0. Now T0 is always going to be the currently designated point, so it will in fact be the same point, but it flips me straight to target point 0 when I do that. If I don't have a designated point, that doesn't happen. It will just give me the quick access menu. Now if I press waypoint increment, it's behaving really bizarrely again. That's a bug. It shouldn't have done that. It should have actually allowed me to cycle through the target points. So again, a strange little bug, but I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. I suspect they're going to fix it for us soon. So yeah, the two bugs to note, you have to cycle a different ODU page to get your arrows back, and then the other one is that sometimes when you're in target points and you cycle, it's going to drop you into some random thing, like in this case it's dropped me into mark points. So just be aware of that. So those are all the changes as of 2.8.0 to waypoint offsets and to the ATHS. I hope that you all enjoyed that. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and comment. Big shout out to Deepak's ground crew. Thank you all very much for your support. Current Deepak's ground crew members are Frantic Stone, Channel Right, Storm Kimbari, Byron Farrow, Leo Netzel, Harish Rajan, Mangash, Pink Floyd, J.R. Walker, Chandro Hedgewald, and Griff Nizzle. You can join Deepak's ground crew by pressing the join button below. Thank you very much for your support, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.